that we should be able to restart that program. Somehow, I know that we dropped the ball. I mean, the CDC for several years was funding, I'm not sure the amount, I think it was 5,000 a year, and they would fundraise, but actually it never materialized. And we did it, I think, for 4 years. $20,000. But anyway, I like to see if we can put money aside and revise this project and start this monument. Uh, we, depending on where you want to have it, we have to buy land. If you want to have it, there was talk of having it here in front of City Hall. We've got the Nature Park, we've got the Veterans Park. There's even maybe a quarter of a mile towards Fort Isabel on Highway 100. The school has property there. We've got 40 acres, and maybe we can put something in it so we can recognize all the local veterans, and also not only that, but all branches of government. And I feel that if we just go by funding like that, penny ante stuff, it will take us another 20, 30 years. But if the CDC wants to fund this project, I'd like to see it maybe within the 3 years. And that's why I would like to see maybe start a light item on the budget and put aside $25,000 in the next 2 years so where we can do something and do it good. I think Brownsville nice. And if you all have anywhere else that we might want to go, that's fine. But I think it ought to be in a place where it can be seen, and we have a lot of veterans that are dying, and I think that it's something that I hope that you guys address. Now, you're going to start a workshop here and work on your budget pretty soon. So I ask that you consider this, put it as an agenda item, and address the issues. You have that right to do that, to put things on the agenda and vote on it and do it. You don't have to wait for City Hall or anybody else. And it's way overdue. We dropped the ball on it already, and I think we need to start all over again and just do it. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Mr. Abrego. Anybody else sign up? No? Thank you. This is the Speakers Bureau, and just for the information of those present, the Speakers Bureau is the opportunity for the public to come and address the board. It is not a question and answer session. It is not a open debate or an open dialogue. So, but we're very grateful for your input, Mr. Abrego, and we will take your words to heart. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. There not being anybody else set up to speak, we'll move to the action item. Under D, 1, consideration and action to approve the minutes of July 12, 2021. Those minutes are contained in the packets given to us by Ms. Jackie. Any questions, comments, discussion?
Gentlemen of the board, I have reviewed the minutes of the July 12th meeting, 2021. I find them all to be factual. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from July 12th, 2021.
Second. Good second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second that we approve the minutes from the July 12, 2021 meeting. Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, it's unanimous. Moving on to D2, consideration and action to acknowledge the July 2021 financial report under A, monthly, B, year-to-date, and C, sales tax report. Mr. Milam.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As you can see, and the first page is the sales tax, packet page 9. And we had our first decrease all year, 3.64%, which is about $1,500. So it wasn't a real terrible decrease. All the other months for the year are very positive. In fact, 20 and 30s and almost 40% one month. So year to date, we're still sitting at 17.76% increase over last year, which is pretty phenomenal. Our businesses are succeeding and doing well. The next page, in packet page 10, percent year complete, we're 83.33% done of our year. We're already over what we budgeted as far as revenue and sales tax. You can see it there on page 11. We've got $423,502.70 in revenue already in sales tax. That puts us 13,500 and some change over. We will hit between 500 and 510 for the year. So we'll have a very good year over last year and over budget as well. Expenditures, you can see on page 10, so far 199,623. That's 53.78% of our budget. Nothing else there. Page 12 and 13 is just the different categories that those items hit in our accounting. Probably the biggest thing yet to do is on capital projects. We've got an alley behind Dairy Queen, next door to Dairy Queen, and then we're going to redo the alley that serves as the alleyway for Wells Fargo. As you go through it, the first part is just the alleyway, and then it opens up. But y'all had budgeted for that last year, and we're in the process of getting quotes to get that done. So that's probably the biggest thing left in the budget to do. Back at page 14 and 15, as you can see, is nothing. It's just blank. And then shows you the expenditures in packet page 16 of the 199,623. And that's all on my report unless there are questions.
Thank you, Mr. Milo. Do I hear any comments, questions, discussion on the report by Mr. Milo? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the July 2021 financial report, monthly, year-to-date, and sales tax report.
Mr. Jones, would you like to make a correction and make that an action to acknowledge, please? You didn't hear me? That's a motion to acknowledge the July 2021 financial report.
Do you so amend, Mr. Jones? Okay, so amended, the motion to show that it's acknowledged.
Okay, with that, I'll like to second the motion to acknowledge the July 2021 financial report, A monthly, B year-to-date, and C sales tax report.
There's a motion and a second. We acknowledge the report as stated by Mr. Milam for July 2021 financial, monthly, year-to-date, and sales tax. Any questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, it's unanimous. Under number 3, D3, presentation by the Los Fresnos Chamber of Commerce and consideration and action to approve service agreement between the CDC and the Los Fresnos Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This is our annual report to you, and I would like to start out by just mentioning that COVID-19 tested our personal and business ability to withstand many, many months of stay-at-home orders and social distancing. The virus has had a profound effect on our locally owned businesses, which are the backbone of our community. In spite of this imposed handicap, the Chamber continued to promote and assist businesses in our market area. We look for all possible ways to promote, announce, and advertise our members' businesses. We also announced and promoted social, cultural events to enhance the welfare and prosperity of our community. I like to think that we pushed the clutch in and went into second gear. Here are some of the community events. We organized and had a Halloween drive-through trick-or-treat on October 31st last year. And there were approximately about 1,200 kids that received candy. And then in December, we had the reverse Christmas parade. And there we had like 26 entries, and there were more than 500 vehicles that went through our parade. And then in April, we had the Easter Festival, and there that was a partnership with everyone, and by everyone I mean all the members of our team, which is the city, the CDC, the school district, the Rotary Club, EMS, and fire department. So there were approximately somewhere around 10,000 eggs that were given to various kids that came through. And then more recently, a month ago, we had our Independence Day celebration, our 4th of July. That was the first festival that we've had like we used to have them. And I'd like to report that attendance was good, and the fireworks were the best ever. Then we've had, in spite of all the limitations we have in the past year, we have 17 new members, and I would just like to not take a lot of time, but just briefly tell you about some of them. And the first one is Claudia Hernandez, which is a RE/MAX realtor. Then there's the Brownsville Museum of Fine Art, and we announce all of their cultural exhibits. And then there's Ben's Liquor, which is self-explanatory. And then there's Luna Piedra. They are a business in Olmito that are in the marble and granite business. And Empowered Counseling Service is a doctor that provides counseling services here in Los Fresnos over at Ocean Park. And the Boost is a new business that sells energy drinks. Raise Your Hand Texas is a nonprofit. La Estrella Meat Market is our 4th meat market here in Los Fresnos. And Surge Mobile Physical Therapy, they are into the therapy business. They're also in Olmito. And BC Technologies, they do a lot of staffing. They offer job opportunities in many different places. And then there's Computer Diagnostics. They are experts in computers. And then there's Rio Grande Distillery, which Los Fresnos is the only city in the entire valley or even South Texas that has a distillery, but they're also a restaurant. They have very, very good food there. And then there's Love Always Gift Shop and Eat. That's in San Benito. That's a very, very nice little gift shop in an old house, and they have a nice menu. And then there's Boswell Elliott Ford. They sell trucks and cars. And Move It Storage across the street finally joined. And Word of Passion Ministries is a church. And Coastal Baron are the guys that are doing Las Casitas, which some of you have seen and heard about. And those are the 17 new members that we've been able to obtain in the past year. Our social media, as you all know, our daily email announcements and our Facebook and Twitter pages continue to get the word out to our community and beyond. Some of our Facebook postings indicate more than 15,000 viewers, which people are looking at what we do here. And then we also collaborate a lot with the Los Fresnos CDC. And in the recent past, we have collaborated on the following initiatives. The Resaca Escondida Restoration Project, we secured support letters for when it needed to go to the legislature. In Texas Travel Magazine, we did some writing and edited some pages for the city. And Workforce Solutions Cameron, we work with them and the CDC in order to get the word out about employment opportunities. And the Conjunto Festival, even though that's not until October, and we organize and execute these community initiatives to ensure a safe and successful festival. What that means is that we have to start working early on with the food vendors, because the people that attend the Conjunto, they go there to dance, to listen to music, and to eat. So we have to focus on the food vendors so that they have a good selection. And the safe part is we're trying to, and we are in conversation with the Rotary Club to hopefully provide a community service project that they can acquire or rent or borrow some golf carts in order to help the people across Arroyo Boulevard. And that would be a big increase to the safety of the festival. The Cowboy Cook-Off that's going to be coming, there are 4 meat markets in Los Fresnos, and in collaboration with the CDC and the Cook-Off, we think it's a good idea to offer our 4 meat markets to promote their business at the Cook-Off. And Explore the RGV is a website that encourages exploration of the 4 RGV counties. Los Fresnos we are a partner city, and we're spotlighted for locals and tourists to visit our area. The Chamber monitors the website and meets with Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council to ensure that Los Fresnos information is up to date and correct. The Los Fresnos School District Career and Technological Education, we collaborate with them and we help out by placing student interns with local businesses. And finally, the Commemorative Air Force, as you all know, is located at the county airport in Bayview. The address to the airport is our postal zone. The Chamber will be meeting with County Commissioner David Garza next week to begin the process to change the name of the airport from Port Isabel Cameron County Airport to Los Fresnos Cameron County Airport. This is a federal endeavor. It needs to come from the federal government, but it needs to be initiated by the county. Gentlemen, this concludes our report. Thank you. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Champion. Mr. Milam, in the packet, it appears we're assisting the chamber with $9,600 a year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. It goes without saying that the chamber is an advocate for our local community businesses. That goes without saying. That's your job. It says a lot to me, though, when I look at the businesses that are coming in, because I'm seeing some businesses from the outside coming in to join our chamber. That tells me that they see a market for their business here, which says a lot. You know, if some of us go back a long way, you remember I think we hired Red Coach to promote Los Fresnos, and we were telling them, hey, wait a minute, look, there's a bunch of us here and we have a lot of buying power. Was it Retail Coach? I'm sorry. It was Retail Coach, and they listened. And the long story short is we got a Walmart, we got churches, we got a lot of businesses. So people are noticing us, and if they're coming in for that, you know, I'm all for that, and I'm all for continuing to support the chamber in the way we've done for the past couple of years at $9,600. I do have a little bit of concern that some of these organizations, and I'm not talking about businesses, but some of these organizations may view us as a funding source, and I have a concern about that because we promote, but we're not a funding source. We're not just, I don't want to say a charity, but we're not a funding source for some of these organizations. They're going to have to beat their own drum and plow their own fields, and they're going to have to do their own work. We will help when we can, and that's my position. At least that's, I'm voicing my opinion. I'm not speaking for everybody here. But anyway, getting back to the topic, $9,600 is, I think, is a fair amount. They've used it before. They've earned it. The chamber has. So that's my recommendation or my suggestion is that we approve the $9,600. Any more further discussion, comments, questions, please? Mr. Jones?
Well, I was gonna make a suggestion of maybe raising that amount to $200, which would make it $1,000 a month. That's not much for all the work in which they do.
Any further questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Casanova.
I recommend raising it 400, make it an even 10,000.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
It says that we contribute about 9,600 per year.
Okay. We got a little bidding war going on here. Do I hear 10,000? Do I hear 11,000?
I think Tom was
I'm just
mentioning.
jesting, Mr. Champion. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just jesting.
I think Tom was mentioning $200 a month, which would be 12,000 a year, is what Tom mentioned.
That would make it $1,000 a month. That's correct.
Well, gentlemen of the board, for what it's worth, I was thinking along the lines of what Mr. Jones was suggesting as well. I think it's within our budget. I think we can do it. So I don't know if you plan on making that a motion, Tom, but I was thinking of doing the same thing. It's just raising it to an even 12,000 per year. But I'll leave it up to you to decide if you're going to make that motion, or of course the floor is still open for additional comments. If anybody else wants to comment on it, the floor is yours.
Any further comments, questions, discussion? That being the case, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agreement with the Los Fresnos Chamber of Commerce raising the amount which we contribute to $1,000 a month, which would be $12,000 a year.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'll second that motion to raise it 12,000 a year.
There's a motion and a second. We approve we approve a service agreement with between the Chamber of CDC, and it's been amended, or actually the proposal in our packet says 9,600, but the motion is for an even $1,000 a month, which totals $12,000. And okay, any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, it's unanimous. Mr. Champion, thank you, continue the good work, and beat the drum. We're here, we got a heartbeat in Los Fresnos.
Yes, sir. We'll improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item D4, consideration and action to approve sponsorship funding for the 2022 Cameron County Fair and Livestock Show.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Good.
Good.
Well, we held the show in 2021, COVID restrictions in place. We had a nurse practitioner that monitored everybody's temperature every day that they came onto the grounds. We had them sign a waiver that they had not been around anybody or tested recently for COVID, and they had to do that every single day. We modified the show greatly to restrict the number of people being there at the grounds. We had no food vendors, which meant anybody that wanted something to eat, they couldn't come over to the rodeo grounds, and we didn't have our couple little food booths, so they had to go into the community to eat those 3 days of the show. We did modify it. We had cattle just on Thursday. All the cattle came in and showed, and they went home that same day. Same thing with the lambs and goats, to minimize the numbers. So the cattle were first on Thursday, lambs and goats were on Friday. The only thing that came in and stayed overnight were the hogs, okay, because they're a different breed of animals and it takes a little bit more to move them. So they came in on Friday and we showed them on Saturday, and then they went home on Saturday evening to decrease the likelihood of us having a COVID outbreak due to something being held here in Los Fresnos. We missed the rodeo, we missed the carnival greatly. It was definitely not the same feel around the community without those two entities being present. But with that being said, in your letter I included the number of animals that we did have show up. We had a total of 253 exhibitors entering 395 animals, 18 rabbits, 46 lambs, 58 goats, 15 commercial heifers and 28 registered heifers, 48 steers, and the cattle entries were all up. We even had a mini Hereford division for the first time, that we had enough animals to do a class all by themselves. And then we had our swine projects were down. We would normally have about 265. Those were only 188. We had a modified Queens contest, held it out in the show barns over here, and we did our presentation of the cowgirl presentation during the show. That was also modified. It was just Dr. Miller and the staff, so that way nobody was exposed once again. And the cowgirl will go on to become the queen for 2022. And that will be Miss Bailey Helmer from Arroyo 4-H. The first runner-up was Riley Greer, and then Avery Fawn from Highland Hustlers. We did proceed to also make modifications that we didn't have any of our little specialty shows, no Pee-wee competition, no old-timer show. There was no home show division or shop division, once again to decrease the number of potential people being at showgrounds and confined spaces of the home show. And we're prepared to do that again with the current outbreak of the Delta variant and numbers going up. If we need to make modifications again for 2022, we already have an action plan. We know what we're going to do, and we'll just make those adjustments accordingly. Hopefully not, but we're prepared to do that. We still had good numbers. People were very pleased. The show went very well. And we're prepared to do it again if need be, but we're praying to God that we don't. We did go on to award scholarships once again. We awarded $10,000 of scholarships, partly in thanks to what the CDC supports us with. We did $10,000 of scholarships, and those went to Abraham Leal, Mackenzie Abrego, and Summer Wade from Harlingen South, Gunnar Vaughn representing Arroyo 4-H, Sadie Cash from Harlingen High School FFA, and then Cody Farr from Los Fresnos. I believe Cody Farr was the only young person from Los Fresnos that submitted an application for scholarship. So unfortunately, we got to get the word out to the kids in Los Fresnos that the scholarship is available to them. But Cody did get the highest dollar amount because his GPA and his academics and his community involvement was far above everybody else that submitted. So he received a $2,500 scholarship. We'll continue to work. We made some improvements. We put new LED lights up in the barn, and so the hog barn was well lit, and most of the lamb and goat barn was done. We still need to work on the cattle barn, and so that's our project for this coming year to get those done. So we hope that you'll continue to support Cameron County so that we can continue to support the youth of Cameron County. And that's all I have to say. I hope everybody's staying safe from COVID.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
There's two service agreements in the packet, and I'm looking at one for December 2019 and one for December 2020.
Oh, did I make a boo-boo? I did it in a hurry, so maybe I did something wrong in a hurry, because Mr. Milam let me know about this kind of last minute. So, the two forms,
They're the same.
they're the same?
We'll update it depending on the action you take.
Okay.
Actually, if you'll see, it's the rodeo one, not the stock show one.
It appears that our hands are kind of tied because we have a 10% limit on promotion, so we're looking at a $9,000 contribution to the livestock show. Is that correct, Mr. Milo?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay,
That's
so
that's what you've done in the past.
I just want to get the numbers cleared up before we start. Any questions, comments, discussion? Anybody have any of those? So it appears that we're topped off at $9,000, which is what we've been for the past several years. We don't question your work ethic because it's always a success and it's always seems to improve.
We try.
There seems to be if you want to be convinced of our contribution here, just look at the pictures. And when you look at the pictures, look at the faces of these young people, the smiles on their face. Look at the not only the smile, because you can't. Some of them are wearing a mask, but they're exuding pride in what they've done, pride in what they've accomplished.
I submitted to y'all the Queen's Contest winners, and then the contestants for the Queen's Contest, and then the other one is the scholarship recipients.
Yeah, so if you look at all of them, look at all these pictures. These kids are you know, they're a joy, and they're a joy because we hear about a lot of kids going wrong or wayward and stuff like this, and these kids have not. They're doing the right thing. So I think the right thing to do is to continue supporting the livestock show in the amount that we have previously. And those are my comments. If anybody else has any more, go ahead. Do I hear a motion?
I would move that we continue our support at the $9,000 limit for the, and I just turned it over, the livestock show.
That's close enough. Yeah, do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second that we consider and approve the sponsorship funding for the 2021 Cameron County Fair and Livestock Show.
We have a motion and a second to approve sponsorship funding for the 2022 Cameron County Fair and Livestock Show in the amount of $9,000. Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
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 Ayes have it, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, D5, consideration and action to approve the sponsorship funding for the 2022 Los Fresnos Rodeo.
First of all, thank you for allowing us to come before you seeking support for the Los Fresnos Rodeo. Unfortunately, as Valerie had mentioned, we did not have one in 2021. We've had rain like you wouldn't believe. We've had ice all over the place, and that has never stopped us, but this virus did. And we did that in particular to keep our staff, our volunteers, our fans, everybody safe. We were right in the middle of the COVID, and unfortunately, we also lost our past chairman, Mr. Mike Todd, to COVID. So those are some of the reasons we did not put on the rodeo. You know, it was a heartache for a lot of us, but we're gearing up. We're getting ready for 2022, We're very excited about it, and we want to make it a memorable one for our fans coming back because since we didn't have one in 2021. George is going to go over a few of the funding that you've done for us in the past, and want to go over that real quick?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, gentlemen, in the past years, you've sponsored the Platinum sponsorship for $10,000. You've purchased a Skybox option for $1,500. And you've also sponsored the Rodeo Friday night concert for $1,000 for a total of $12,500. We're asking that for your support for that amount. We would greatly appreciate it. And like Larry mentioned, we're working hard and getting ready for 2022, and hopefully it's going to be a gangbuster. So we appreciate your support.
Just to mention, for Friday night's concert, we have a contract with the Spasmatics again. They brought in a big crowd, and people really love them, so we're bringing them back for the Friday night's concert. So if y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have of us.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Milam, again, we're looking at the 10% rule, correct? So we're capped at 12,500, is that correct? Okay, again, it goes without saying, the livestock show and the rodeo go hand in hand, and I'll voice my opinion, and if somebody has one, of course, you'll be granted equal time. This rodeo's always been a success. I love the picture that's on the on your presentation here. It shows our football team, and it shows the rodeo. And when you stop to think about the three players here, which is the football team, that's our schools, the rodeo, that's you, and the CDC, that's our community. So this is what, to me, this picture represents. It's all of our community, all of us working together for promotion. So we're capped at 10%, and I think that's a fair amount. Everything's gone up. We wish it could be 20%, but it's not, so our hands are tied. But my recommendation to, with all due respect to my fellow members here, is that we go with the 10%, 12,500. Anybody have questions, comments, discussions, please feel free. There being no further comments, questions, or just go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I do want to have questions. So in the past, we've supported you with the Platinum package, the concert sponsor for $1,500, and the Platinum package being, I believe, $10,000. And then the third one was which one?
The Friday night concert. There's a concert sponsorship.
Okay, that's the concert sponsor for $1,500. Is that correct?
But because of the limit, it's been $1,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, sir.
Normally the rodeo, the Friday night, the
The Friday
concert
night sponsorship.
sponsorships are a little bit higher, but because of the limits, we did a lower amount for the CDs.
For $1,000.
For
Okay,
$1,000.
so the concerts package is now 1,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what was the third one aside from the Platinum package?
The Skybox, $1,500.
Oh, that was 1,500 for the
Yes,
Skybox
sir.
and 1,000 for the concert package. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I got you. That's what I was wanting to know. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, does anyone have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the service agreement with the Los Fresnos Rodeo Committee for the $12,500 amount.
I will second that motion, but I wanted to clarify first, so we're aware of what we're purchasing here. So, and that's the reason I was asking those questions. So, 10,000 would be, of those 12,500 that you've motioned, Mr. Jones, correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman, the platinum package would be 10,000. The skybox package would be 1,500, and then a concert package would be for 1,000, for a total of 12,500. So,
That is correct.
thank you, sir. So with that, I'll second the motion to approve the sponsorship package for the Los Fresnos Rodeo Committee for a total of $12,500 with those packages I just identified.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor, say aye. Ayes have it, it's unanimous. Thank you very much,
Mr. Chairman, just
gentlemen.
one more comment. I really like the cooperation we have between all the entities here in Los Fresnos. We were happy that we were able to help during the vaccinations, allowing people to park and the big food drives and this and that. So anytime you all need anything from the rodeo, please let us know. We more than be happy to help in any way we can. We love the city and we love working here with y'all. Thank you.
Make a comment.
Go ahead,
I'd like to
Mr.
go ahead and, since you mentioned that, Mr. Cantu, I'd like to go ahead and recognize the city, the fire department, for all those vaccination sessions that you had. Even though we had a lot of people show up and get vaccinated, it took a little while, but you guys got the job done. You guys did a real good job, and I think that the congratulations goes out to the people involved, the staff, fire department, and everybody. It was just so many people that were involved doing all kinds of jobs, you know, directing traffic, lining cars up. The cars were full on this side of the fire department. And it's been a long time since I was involved in, well, all I did was stand in line, but just watching it and the logistics of everything that was involved, the people lining up and taking care of everybody, the nurses, the people lining up and giving the vaccination, that was something else. And I think that is something that we need to be very proud of this city.
Thank you, Mr. Casanova. The key word in the CDC is community Development Corporation, but the operative word is community, and that's, I think we all have the same mentality here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Moving on to the next item. Number 6, consideration and action to approve a sign grant for Plaza Linda located at 33478 FM 803. Mr. Milam, did the committee meet?
No, sir, they did not. Since Marco wasn't here, we only had one, so we figured we'd just present it to the full board. So if you're okay with that, I'm ready to present.
Do you want to present it to the board, or do you want to pass it?
I would like to present it. I mean,
Yeah, we'll consider it. It's on the agenda. It doesn't make sense to carry it over another month. Sometimes these matters are pressing to the business owner, so if you want to go ahead.
yes, sir. It's at 803 and 100, just behind the stripes there. Got a pretty large group of tenants, and if you'll see the on packet page 31, kind of look what it'll be, and at the top it'll say that one says Plaza Rancho Viejo, but it'll say Plaza Linda there, and then below that they'll have the different businesses that will choose to be on that main sign. The city has a ordinance when you have a development like that has quite a few businesses in, where they can share the one sign out front on the highway, so that there's not 15 or 20 signs cluttering the road, so that they can put them there, and then they also have the ability to put them on their businesses as well. So this is the developer that's asking for that. As you can see, it's quite a bit more expensive than some of the signs we have that are just for the building itself. The graphics is the cheapest, and it's $15,000. The grant program calls for a maximum of $3,750. So that's what our our recommendation is for $37.50 for that sign to the graphics. The graphic spot is what they're called.
It's probably there, and I must have missed it, but it is an electric sign, correct? Illuminated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Mullen?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion on this item? Typically, what we have is, for your benefit, Jeffrey, I'm sorry, I never said your last name. Mr. Keeler is our new member. I introduced him as Jeffrey, and that's a little too informal. His last name's Keeler. But anyway, typically what happens in these, the committee meets beforehand, and they kind of, I don't want to say they decide, but they make a ruling which we generally just follow. And because the committee didn't meet today, Mr. Milam presented, that's not norm. The norm is the committee will meet and come with a recommendation. But we're basically doing the same thing, except that this time we're taking the time to review all of this. So is there any questions, comments, discussions on this item? Do I hear a motion?
Yes, sir. I would move that we allot the $3,750 for the sign grant for Plaza Linda at 33478 FM 803.
Push the mic, Mr. Casanova, and
Second, that we consider and approve, enact and approve the sign grant for Plaza Linda located at 33478 on Road 803.
okay, I just push the button so that the recorder picks up your voice. We can hear you, but the recorder may not.
I second the motion that we consider and approve sign grant for Plaza Linda located at 33478 Farm Road 803.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the sign grant for Plaza Linda located at 33478 FM 803 in the amount of $3,750, which is the maximum amount we can contribute. Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Matter approved unanimously. Moving on to number 7. Oh, this is a big one. Consideration and action to excuse the absence of Enrique Juarez, yours truly, from the July 12, 2021 CDC meeting. In my defense, I was going to dig up my perfect attendance certificates that I got at elementary school, but I thought, no, that's a little too much. I basically, just for your information, I had my wife had an emergency in Dallas that prompted us to have to leave right away. So I was actually in town and told Jackie I was going to be here, and then at the last moment I couldn't be here, and that's why I'm here. And since 2005, I think I missed like 2 or 3 meetings, maybe at the most. So I ask that you approve my absence as an excused absence.
Thank you, sir. If I could comment, I'd like to actually encourage us to excuse the absence of Mr. Juarez as well. In the years that I've been here on the board, I've seen him miss very little as well. And it sounded to me like there's a real reason for him to not have been able to attend on that meeting. So, in fact, I'd like to go ahead and motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Juarez on the July 12th, 2021 CDC meeting.
Seconded.
Any questions? There's a motion and a second. You approve my absence from last meeting. Any questions, comments, and discussion? I have one. I want to say that I am in no way offended or take ill that this matter is being brought up. In the probably, I don't know how many years, about 15, close to 20 years of being here, a lot of people would miss, and there was no mechanism to bring it up to their attention. And this if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If it's, if it's something that needs to be done because we all need to be accountable. We're on this committee to serve, and sometimes we can't. We did have one instance, I remember a gentleman that his family was ill, and he eventually had to drop out. But I'm not offended by this. I think it's a good practice to bring it up and address it so that if someone doesn't want to be here, we can just move on with someone who does. Thank you. That's my comments. Any further comments, questions, discussion? That being the case, all in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain because it's about me. It sounds like it's unanimous. It passes. It's approved. Under D8, consideration and action to approve fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Mr. Milo?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. You can see my write-up on page 36 and 37. 38 is where I'm going to be talking off of, which is your actual budget listing. And just so that we're all on the same page, you can see that first we have the codes for the line items and then the description of those. And then the next column, you have a fiscal year 19-20, which was the prior year, last year. And the one that we are in is fiscal year 2020-21, and you've got two columns there, what we budgeted and what we're projecting it to be. And then the last column on the right is fiscal year 2021-2022 proposed. And so we'll start off with sales tax. As you can see, we had 445 last year, and we were conservative at 410 this year that we're in, because we didn't know if that sales tax would hold because of COVID, if you'll recall those discussions. Of course it has, and in fact we'll hit 500 to 510, and so we're proposing that for this coming year, that not really an increase, but we'll be conservative and say that we're going to continue to hold that same amount of sales tax. Personally, I think it'll continue to increase, but I think we should be conservative in our budgeting of revenue. Interest, it has become insignificant. As you can see, they're just interest rates are so low, we don't get much money for the money that's in the account. So that ends up being $510,380 for our budget. Then you see our expenditures. The first 5 items, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, have to do with salaries, and that's our part-time employee that works 20 hours a week. Right now it's at $10 an hour. What we budgeted is, and this will be contingent upon what the city council does as far as if there's any raises given. Sometimes there's raises, sometimes there's none. I'm proposing several different options. One with an hourly, for the hourly employees, more of a cost of living increase of 4% for the hourly, for the salaried only 2%. But we're also looking at moving wages up on the scale, because if you've heard here recently, a lot of places, McDonald's, Walmart, and those are moving their wages quite a bit up to $15. And so as we have 10, 11, and 12, 13, we're going to begin to have a problem with filling positions if we do not meet that, and it will be something good for those employees that make on the lower end of the scale. So I've got that to present. So I would like y'all to accept the up to $2. What it would be is up to $2 from 10 to 12. It could be less than that depending on what the council does. So, because that employee, even though it's paid through CDC, we have to keep them in line with our other employees. So if we move them all up, that position will move up too. The other thing we did is added $3,000 for temporary help, and that is at different times we do blitzes for different projects we're doing where we need more than just one person or two people out there doing stuff. We need it for a temporary basis to hit the market and get things out there. So we put 3,000 in there. That's how you got to the 15,480. But those will be temporary and just a one-time shot for a week or two there. The attorney, we always put $500 an attorney. In my recollection, we haven't used that in many, many years. Just ends up going back into the budget as a surplus. But I think we need to plan for it in case we need a review of a contract or something. Auditor, it's been about $5,500 for a while. It's going to go up a little bit, and it's just the CDC's portion of what the audit is for the whole city. We developed a 3-year contract for that. The next thing is professional services, and that is Desi's amount. And if you see on the page 38, I kind of, I tried to detail that in very thoroughly. Right now, he's taking $31,600. That's $29,200, and then several years ago you authorized $2,400 a year for mileage, so that gets the $31,600. Desi's contracted to work on a contract basis. That means you do a job and you get paid for that job. There's not a time clock attached to it, but we do base that time off of 20 hours. So in order to look, as you can see a little bit later in there, he had asked for 810 a week. I felt that was a little high. So what I did is looked at if we had a full-time employee that was economic development director, which is the work that he does, that would be anywhere from $70,705 to $87,789 for a full-time. Of course, a full-time we would also pay insurance, retirement, and all of those things. So the hit to CDC would be well above that amount. So if you take that amount and you kind of put it in, and we want a person that does around 20 hours, but to get the job done, I came up with $39,520. I think that is fair for the CDC. The city, I think, is fair for him, and it keeps you in line with if we had a full-time employee doing that. Keep in mind that as a contract labor person, that person is paying 15.3% in Social Security, and I think it's I can't remember which one it is, but if you just take that, his present amount is $4,800. That if he was an employee, the city would be paying that. So anyway, you look at it, and it is an increase, but I think it's a fair increase looked at actual numbers, and still rewards him for the work he's doing, but also keeps it in line and in position with what we are doing. I'll skip that and then go on, and then y'all can have comments on any of it, so make your notes. The next one was the business recruitment and development, $9,600 for chamber. That moves to $12,000 because of your action taken earlier in the meeting. And then we got off supplies. And then the next one is city promotion and advertising. Mr. Watt has mentioned that several times about the 10%. And so just so y'all are clear what that is, it's not 10% for any particular group. When I say that, hey, hold off on the increases, I personally think that those other entities have got plenty of funding. Doesn't mean that they couldn't use more, but when we're looking at a total budget of $510,380, we have to stay within 10%, which would be 51,000. And so you can see we got 45 under city promotion and 6 under advertising. So that gets you your $51,000. Now, can you decide any way you want to how that 10% is made up? Yes, you can do that. And, but you just gotta be sure that if you increase one, you gotta be sure that either your revenue goes up or you got to decrease something else. There is a mechanism that you can look over a period of time to be able to hit that 10%. So I'll give you a good example of this. Last year, we will go a little bit over because you did the promotion on the blue light campaign. And so that went into there, and that was one that we haven't done before. And so that'll kick us a little bit over for this year, but the prior years we were always under. So when you look at it over a whole period of time, we're still in very, very good shape. So just wanted to be sure that you saw that. So those 51,000 and those two line items, they take care of what you just did with the stock show and the rodeo, and you've already approved the Conjunto Festival for 5,000, and then it includes the 3 events that the chamber helps us with, and the Independence Day celebration, the October Festival, and Christmas in the Park. You fund those as well. It also includes the Cowboy Cook-Off at $1,500, and then I put the air show. It was approved by this board. It was prior $5,000. This board approved $7,500 last time. I was asked to. It went to the city council. They denied it. This air show people were not present, so that affected, and there was some question about some other things. So it was denied. I was asked to place it back on the agenda. So it'll be back on the agenda depending on what they do. That'll be either 0 or up to the amount that you approved, or of course they could pick another amount. So anyway, that's what promotion and advertising composes of. Travel seminars, just every 2 years I have to go to at least every 2 years to economic development updates. Mainly it correlates after the legislative session, so that if there's any changes that we're aware of those. Dues and memberships is $1,200. I'll skip special projects because what we do there is anything extra, we put it in special projects for you to do throughout the year. Got insurance, business incentive program. That's the grant program that we have for the sign grant, landscaping grant, and storefront improvement. And it's been habitually that we've done about 20,000. We will hit pretty close to that this year, which is good because we had prior year it was a little down. Overhead transfer to general fund, that's for our help in the running of the CDC. That was the way it was set up back in the 90s, 15,000. Probably if you would want to look at that, it could go up because of prices increased throughout that time, but we're all one unit, so I don't think that ever should change. Just leave it at 15. Transfer debt service to INS. You had agreed to help fund some projects for a street paving project. One of them will go away in 2025, and I can't remember the amounts that those were included, but you agreed to help fund some water and wastewater upgrades last year as well. And so that's what makes up that 83,000. Miscellaneous, we just put 300 just to, in case there's some miscellaneous thing that you need or we need through the year. And so those things make up the 510. When you go into the breakout of the special projects, here is some things that we would want. Nature Park is to set aside $50,000. You see that on the end there. We're having volunteer groups become active, and we're hoping more active. So we need a little storage shed so that we can have equipment that they can have and don't have to bring it from their house, or they don't have to wait for a city employee to come. They can get it. We have bird feed in there for them to fill those. We will also do that as a city as well, but we need that. I put 20,000 set aside for more removal of the Brazilian peppers. I hope it doesn't take that much, but it might take more than that. But if we budget a little bit, Mr. Abergo mentioned about the Veterans Memorial, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's the same thing. If we don't budget any, nothing happens. So we want to budget up to 20,000 for that so that we can get folks out there removing that, as well as some plants. And the other thing is a master plan update. When we first started this project, Hanson Professional Services did a good map and master plan for the park, but it only went so far, and we're there. And so we need them or someone like them to update that, of course, with, we've got some people that are on a committee that know the butterflying, know the birding, and get them to update that master plan so that we can then use that master plan on an annual basis. This is what we're going to be doing, because the nature park's 23 acres. I would probably say, unless we got someone to drop several $1 million, we will never be through with that development. It'll be a ongoing thing that will just be developed more and more and more through the years. So that's for the nature park. Two things that I wanted to bring up, and one of them is the Veterans Memorial. He mentioned 25,000. I think that's a good idea. When we started this idea of a Veterans Memorial, would be on this corner of Veterans Memorial Drive. That's why it was named Veterans Memorial Drive. A gentleman by the name of David Mendez had worked with me and another councilman at that time. He has passed away. He was doing that work pro bono, and so he was going to engineer it, and then the other thing that he would do is try to get some contractors to do some reduced price or reduced cost work as well. I've talked to Rudy Gomez, was his partner, and Rudy said that he will try as best as he can to honor the commitment that David tried to make at that time. So if we put 25,000 in the budget for that, doesn't mean that we'll use it for engineering, but if he needs something that he can't do and can't get it, maybe some surveying or maybe, some work that he has to do in the engineering and design plans, that we have a little bit of money to get that done. Because once we get it engineered, designed, then we can do a pretty good cost estimate and then be able to set monies aside appropriately. I think that we can come to fund it pretty quickly if we get to that point. So that's my recommendation on another use of that special project is the 50,000 Nature Park, 25,000 for Veterans Memorial. And then I don't want to put a number in it yet, but just for your information, one of our goals 2 years ago when we started all the Little League Park upgrades, actually there's two things. Little League Park upgrades was getting permanent bleachers that are raised and set at least on the field that we call the main field. I call it the West Field. It was where the old concession stand was. So I don't know what that cost will be. It'll be quite a bit, but I wanted to throw that as something that's on your radar as well as our radar, so that we don't forget about it and can get some cost figures for that, and then be able to budget for it in future years. And the last one is several people have brought it up through time, is looking for property for what I would call a sports complex. We don't have really set soccer fields. We use Memorial Park and it works fine, but it's just not, it's mixed in with, you might have something else going on there that day and everything. If you have some land that maybe we can look at to start purchasing. I don't have a figure with that, so that's not a budget item, but that's just something that we need on our radar in order to, I've seen some with 4 fields, a center part and 4 fields. I've seen a center part and 5 fields. It looks pretty cool. And then you can develop those fields for different age groups. What we have to do now is we have to share a lot. It works, but it's more difficult for those that are running those leagues. So that's all of my comments, and I'll open it up for y'all to add, delete, strike, and
I think that's an excellent idea, planning for the future on the sports complex. I think that we're in need of not only soccer fields, but more baseball fields. Going back to the Veterans Memorial, I think that's an excellent idea, and I think it's a long time coming. But a memorial, it's going to take quite a bit of time. What I recommend, what I would like to see is a Veterans Day program to recognize our veterans and other veterans from Cameron County that wish to attend. I've done it before when I worked in the middle schools, and we always had an excellent turnout and always very well appreciated.
Any further questions, comments? Go ahead, Jeff.
I have some quick questions. Apologize, I've worked in the budget and the Pentagon for a long time, so I look at all these numbers. So was DESI paid in 2019, 2020 actual? It says $39,100. That seems off. We said that it was supposed to be $31,60.
the CDC board approved a special project for
okay.
special work for him to do for the nature park that took quite a bit of extra time over and above what was normally done. So that's an excellent question. That's why you'll see that one at $39,100.
Thanks. And then for the special projects, in the Word document, it's 273,000, and on the spreadsheet, it's 259,000.
That was a typo. Well, not typo. It was a prior budget draft that I was using, and when I put 273, it'll be 259. But now, with the change in the CDC, it'll be guess it's $2,400 less than that. So
Okay, perfect. And then the last question, so the special projects, we kind of laid some stuff out here. So when we vote to approve, are we approving the spreadsheet? Are we approving your recommendations for the special projects, or is there opportunities?
Speak up a little bit,
Is
Mr.
there opportunities during the year to relook the special projects?
great question. My recommendation is for the, in the special projects, the $50,000 for the nature project for those. Two things I forgot to mention, and I would like to include those in there. So nature park, yes, I would like for you to recognize that you're setting aside $50,000 for the nature park and $25,000 for the Veterans Memorial. We're not setting anything specifically aside yet for land because we don't know what that is. Or the bleachers, permanent bleachers, that could come back at another time. I would like for you to set aside, in my notes, I put community park sign of $2,800 and memorial park sign of $4,300. That you've already approved that. It doesn't have to come back for you. That's already designated in our budget. That would leave, somewhere around 175,000 or so that you still have for, and the way we do it is through the year things come up where other fundings for maybe infrastructure for a business that's coming in, maybe just for example, they might come in next door here and needing the natural gas there, and natural gas takes X amount to move it here, and the CDC wants to participate in getting that there. So all of those extra monies will be left over to be able to address throughout the year. In addition to that, any excess funds that we have, what I call a fund balance. If I recall, I haven't looked at it recently, but it's about 200,000 we have in fund balance from years past that we didn't spend. So that would be for a big project. I'll give you an example. Across from the school, catty corner across from Harvey's, where the old Miller place is. If you'll recall, we have talked about this with this group before, is the natural gas line runs right through the center of that property. That's a fantastic commercial business property for the future. But someone would have to do some fancy building in order to fit it around that. We do not own that. A developer owns that. But if someone came in there and it was advantageous, it would be advantageous for us to move that gas line. We've gotten prices through the years with 60,000, then was 80,000. So who knows what it'll be when and if it ever comes to fruition. But that's what that would happen for. It might be the difference of a great business relocating there or not by us helping with some of that infrastructure. So that cleared up so that would designate the 50,000 for nature park, 25,000 for Veterans Memorial, community park sign, $2,800, memorial park sign, $4,300. We've got some estimates on that. That's why those numbers are set. If you look at our community park sign, it needs it, and our memorial park sign, you can't read it at all. And so we need to upgrade that.
Any further comments, questions? Mr. Jones?
I have a question. If I remember correctly, the Veterans Memorial was proposed originally for the city hall. Is that not correct? Was going to be a part of the original building, and it was removed from it because of cost.
No, it was never part of the original building. Like I say, David was going to do as a project that he wanted to be involved in for veterans, and so it wasn't even the same engineer that did the city hall.
Okay, I guess my question was, do you remember any ballpark numbers cost-wise? Do you know?
Someone threw out $100,000 once, but I don't think it had any engineering teeth to it to really say that that's the number. I think that's why we need to get Rudy moving on it and to be able to have a number to shoot for.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? I'm with you on the special projects. I understand it's kind of soft and vague and fluid and you know, but it's got to be like that so it'll work. And we're basically, I think we could call it a savings account, so we could fall back on something. One, and two, if the opportunity arises, like Walmart did and some other stores, we are ready, willing, and able to accommodate them. That's a good example on that gas line that we moved, I think for wings. On the small matter, the seminars and the dues, Mr. Milam, I've been here since 2005, and I think the only time someone went to a seminar was Carl Macom went to one time. There's seminars on the CDC, and the reason I'm bringing them up is not because I want to go. It's because with everything being like it is now, there's a lot of Zooming and a lot of, remote attending these matters. Maybe we can find one that we can go to and go to it as a group. And I don't mean go to it, come here and all of us participate for the price of one. Rather than send one person, maybe we can find something that we can all attend a seminar and we'll all benefit from it. I'm not trying to change the direction of our group here. I think we've done a good job over the years. We've come a long way from red ink to black ink to a very good black ink. So I think we're going in the right direction, but it doesn't hurt to catch up, modernize, and move on and kick it up a notch. So if you can find something like that, I'd like to see that money go toward that rather than just sit there and be carried over into our surplus next year. So that's my comments. Any further comments, questions, discussion?
For the record, so that y'all will know, I just did the calculation, the Nature Park Veterans Memorial and the two signs, plus the $2,400 that you approved for the chamber. That's a total of $84,500. So if you take that from the $259,834, that leaves still $175,334 as special projects or close to that number. So $175,334, which is a very good amount to be able to utilize for future events.
One more comment on the sports facilities, the ballparks. New York City or the island, New York is on an island, Manhattan, and if you measure it now, there's an X amount of square footage on that island. If you measure it 10 years from now, it's still going to be the same amount. It's not going to grow or get bigger. Our parks are locked in. I don't see how we can add another ballpark to our baseball facilities. And I don't see how we can add a whole lot more to our new park in front of the high school, Memorial Park. So I think it's very important we start to look toward acquiring land, either by purchase, by gift, or by hook or by crook. A lot of these developers are wanting to bring in subdivisions, you know, and it doesn't hurt to ask, hey, would you donate 5 acres for a baseball field or whatever. It may happen. If you ask, someone may say yeah. So that's something to look at. Those are my comments on that. But we definitely have outgrown our two parks. We are, our britches are tight. We don't need a belt or suspenders. They're not gonna fall. Okay? Those are my comments. Do I hear a motion on item 8, consideration and action to approve the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget?
I'll make the motion that we consider and approve, consider and act on approving the fiscal year budget 2021-2022.
Just as presented,
Do we need an amount?
Would you add an amount, yes, as indicated on the sheet?
Yes, let me go ahead and, make the motion to consider and to act in approving the fiscal year budget for 2021 and 2022 in the amount of $510,380.
Okay, thank you for that. And I will, second the motion to approve the fiscal year 2021-22 budget as presented, as proposed, in the amount of $510,380.
Any further questions?
he said, do we need to have a public hearing before we approve? No, that comes with the city council because they're the ultimate approval. And so this goes to them, and we've got those public hearings scheduled. And but for a economic development corporation doesn't have to. In fact, this part of their budget doesn't have to. Only the general fund would have to be subject to a public hearing.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? That being the case, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, it's unanimous. Moving on to item F, report by general manager regarding A, cameras, B, infrastructure project, caution lights. Mr. Milam. I'm sorry, is that you, Desi? Oh, I'm sorry. I see now. I skipped item E, report by CDC consultant. Under 1, CDC consultant report A, business development, B, ecotourism, and C, community development. Mr. Martinez, I apologize. I
No, no problem.
had a
Thank you.
senior moment.
I want to say hello to all of you and thank you for your audience. Welcome, Mr. Keeler. As you can see, the report in brief, the business development that I categorize under business development, economic development, made several contacts with local businesses under matching grants, and follow up on some of the contacts that have been coming in during the month. As you can see, the diversity of contacts that we have, even for a smaller community, it all looks good. And of course, contacts that referrals to USDA on housing assistance for home repairs, etc. You can see that too. I want to take a special moment to thank Daniel Alvarez for the referral to SpaceX. We sent them a packet. We'll be following up with them to promote the community more relations with SpaceX.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Other related business and training development activity that I, and of course with the help of Bianca, a mail out in collaboration with Workforce, working our city maps, which they're done. Now I got to get quotes with our new subdivisions. See, in the 10 and a half years, almost 10 and a half years that I've been with you all, as your consultant, I prefer the word liaisons because it's more appropriate today, connection between us or connecting the community and the board. etc. But I just want to take a moment and say that those maps are so important because it provides us the new subdivisions and roads that we have in the city, and working with Cameron County GSI. And this is basically a lot more for a new member, because so he knows how we connect to all these different resources that we have available for the community, and posting them. We also have the brochures that, as you see it coming in, we've developed all these brochures and of the nature park, of the city, etc. Requires our mapping to be updated. And for the first time in the 10 and a half years almost, this is the fastest growth in residential. We've had consistent growth in commercial, obviously in industrial. We're not an industrial park type city. You all pay taxes to the Port of Brownsville. So we work with the Port of Brownsville very closely as well, Eddie out there and their board. They're very open about working with you as well. And also work with the Port Isabel Navigation District down the street, because I know the director and all. But you know, here the Port of Brownsville, and it's growing. That's our industrial park. So congratulations. That's what I'm trying to say. The numbers are starting to click even much better with new residences coming up, and you can see it across the street and here, over by Walmart, and just behind local supermarket, a new subdivision. You'll see this in the maps that we'll be posting, and we'll even send you a copy, but we'll be posting on the website. On ecotourism, the whole strategy, as you mentioned, I was on a special project to assist with a committee that you all appointed last year to assist in the development of our ecotourism at the nature park and diversifying the nature park into butterfly and birding, etc. And it has been continuously going that forward. We have punched out with a contractor the latest small project addition, which we call the observation area, and we walked that area with the public works director and the contractor. Little glitches, but they're being fixed. TxDOT has approved, as part of our ecotourism forecast for this decade, is to bring more nature awareness. So TxDOT, we had submitted to TxDOT, first denied, then we referred it to Austin, and et cetera, et cetera. Today, TxDOT, after I submitted the specifications of the decals that we propose on the equipment, they will be working with us, and that has been approved. But because they're changing the equipment, as you can see, the road work happening on Texas Highway 100, it's been moved up to October, November in that time. And of course, you all acted on the other two recommendations. Well, the main recommendation, number 3, from the Nature Park Committee, that they needed to update the plans because we're just piecing. We need to see a roadmap where we're going on this nature park project, and you all just approved on the budget. The Nature Park Committee asked that we develop a maintenance and operation plan of the butterfly and birding area. The one is really a little more maintenance, if I may, that we're trying to build a volunteer program around in time. Right now, we're going to kick it off by getting it done right first, and then, and we're learning too, by the way. I'm not a bird or a butterfly person. I allow the committee members to do the input. I just do the get it done. Me and Bianca do. So the hardest part is the butterfly because they're weeds, but they're beautiful weeds that attract the monarchs, etc. And the people love it. So when you have a chance, go see our new observation area, and you'll see what I'm talking about. In community development, sat down with, as mentioned by our partner, the Chamber, we sat down with El Conjunto Festival, and we got 250 tickets free. We're trying to adapt more of our promotion also now after a decade now that we've been working with them. Adapted also not only to economic development, hotel stays, restaurant, eateries, etc. What impact these activities have, whether it's livestock show, whether it's rodeo, whether it's conjunto, and we'll see what the city says about SpaceX. Excuse me, not SpaceX, air show. But we're trying to adapt some other community development. That's my job for you all, to do not only community development, economic development, but community development. So we sat down with Conjunto. They're going to provide 250 tickets for the Housing Authority, Head Start, Boys and Girls Club, and Los Fresnos Elementary Conjunto, and the high school mariachi and conjunto bands. That would provide more access of our community to these events as well. We also sat down with the Los Fresnos Cowboy Cook-Off, and they too are collaborating. We said, look, you all do meat, so can we go invite our 4 meat markets that they have a spot here to promote their meat markets. That's what we do. I call him our ambassador. We'll be contacting them from Lopez to the Walmart that has a meat market, to the other 2 that down the street. So those are the things we call economic development and community development coming together. And it's a good start. And we'll be asking the rest as well to sit down, and we'll report back to you, okay? All in all, of course, the school district, we're ready to kick off and do some community development with them too, as you can see in my discussion there. All in all, we've had a successful year, I think, even during the pandemic, because we worked diligently to communicate with our businesses, to communicate with our colleagues or partners, etc., and make bigger partnerships. That's what it's all about. And bring those opportunities, because that's the name of our city, Los Fresnos, Community of Opportunity, to set. And I think we've done a good job about it, and I appreciate your support. And if you have any questions, you know my number, or I'm here to reply.
Does that conclude your report, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you on.
Somebody
on-
left their
on-
glasses.
A good job. It was none of us. We've all
This is
remained in our
mine.
seats.
Today, do we have a meeting today?
They were there when I went to school. I was the first guy.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Martinez? Thank you. Moving on to item F, report by the general manager. I got it right this time, Mark. Under A, cameras, B, infrastructure, caution lights.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the cameras that we're talking about, remember, are the, for the birding and butterfly area at the nature park. We've been having trouble with Earth Cam. That's who we would like to use to, I guess, run the cameras and be able to have it on their system. Because we're having trouble getting them to commit and respond, I've asked our folks to give me something that we could do ourselves and go ahead and get it started, because we've been talking about this for quite a few months. Get some cameras, DVR internet service, domain, and things set up in order to be able to have it on our web page and to share it. For the first year would be about $5,000. On ongoing yearly expenses, if we didn't have any breakdown repairs, like cameras or DVRs or things like that, switches, it would be about $725 a year, which is not a bunch. Up to, if you have to replace cameras and stuff, $1,200 to $1,500, we would probably want to budget for replacement. So I wanted to give you that information. I didn't get all that information until after the agenda went out, so I'll have it as an action item for next meeting. If EarthCam comes through between now and then, it might be that we'll have their program, or we'll go alone, or maybe we have both of them to look at, and you decide then. We can always start with ours and migrate over to them at a later time. I think maybe one of the issues they're nervous about is, will it be that they wanted something that's viewable. So as we have better butterfly area, better birding area, be a lot to see, they will be wanting to grab that and put it on their network. So anyway, I'll have that for you next time. Infrastructure project caution lights, that's the lights for the emergency vehicles here out front in the road. No progress with TxDOT. And Gene and I both continue to hassle them a little bit, and they're always going to get to it at some point in the future, and they will sometime. And that's all my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mylum. Moving on to item G, committee reports and action as may be appropriate. We'll take the short route. Anybody have anything to report? Mr. Mylum, you're raising your hand.
Yes, sir. I'd like on C, new industrial development, city development. That's Marco and Huerta and William Lubin. The Andy was on there before, and so he's no longer on the board. We need a volunteer for that third spot for the grant committee, sign in that way.
We have a volunteer.
That's what I was hoping, but you're gonna go. But that way we won't have the situation like we had when one has, Marco's on a family vacation, reason why he's not here. So you would have three, and then you would always have two to be able to go ahead and make a committee. So.
Push the mic, Jeff. Push the mic.
I see you also need someone for the advertising promotion committee as well, so I was assuming that would be a volunteer for both of those, if that's correct. And then I took the class about the open meeting, so I don't know how this works. How do we, let me know when I'm supposed to talk to people about these committees and how that works. And I'm standing by for communication for whatever meetings I have to do for these committees.
Okay, Mr. Mylum, I think Mr. Keeler needs some open records training, so we need to schedule him. It's not anything you've done wrong, but it's just. Oh, you already did it?
My concern was, it seemed like scare you away, like I can't go talk to you guys because it has to be open meeting. I just want to make sure that who calls me and how that works. I don't step on.
You're pretty free to talk. You're free to talk all you want. So save your talking for up here, and we'll do well. I'm very proud of the group. We've come a long way. Manny was here. I think Mark and Manny and I are probably